Sure, mess is annoying, but what if I told you that clutter isn't just an eyesore, it might actually be making you sick? I'm Robyn, a former emergency and chronic wound care nurse, and now I help women to simplify their homes and lives because clutter, it is not just about the mess. It is a stress and illness trigger, and it can impact your health in ways that you might not even realize, and I am passionate about helping that stop, so we will get into that at the end too. Studies show that visual clutter increases your cortisol level, which is our body's main stress hormone, leading to chronic stress, decision fatigue, and decreased focus. Ever feel like you can't relax because your house feels chaotic? That's your nervous system reacting to overwhelm. And why? Because your brain is constantly processing your environment. Even when you're not consciously aware of it, it's like your brain is in a house with dozens of tiny notification pings, reminders, beeps and alarms of unfinished tasks, misplaced items, and visual noise just pulling your attention in every direction. When your environment is cluttered, your brain, it treats it like it's an ongoing emergency, keeping your nervous system in a low-grade state of stress, making it harder to focus, to unwind, or to sleep deeply. So let's get to the science behind why clutter is overwhelming your brain. Now, your brain, it's wired for order. Your prefrontal cortex, which is like right there, the part of your brain responsible for decision making and focus, is sensitive to visual distractions. You sit down to work, but your desk is covered in yesterday's coffee cups, or in my case, teacups. It's scattered with papers, about 5 different sticky notes that all seemed important when you wrote them down. And I can really relate to this even on a digital level. And before you even open your laptop, your brain is already fried from trying to figure out where to start. Clutter competes for your attention, making it harder to concentrate, to problem solve, or to relax. A 2011 study from the Princeton Neuroscience Institute found that too much visual, the plural is actually many, but whatever, visual stimuli, too much stuff to look at makes it harder for your brain to focus on a single task. Like, first of all, this is like wasting your energy. It is wasting your time. In other words, your clutter, it's not just sitting there, it's constantly stealing from your mental energy. And clutter triggers your stress response. Fight or flight mode. I'm sure you've heard of this. When it is chaotic in your space, your amygdala, your brain's emotional processing center, it sees this as a source of stress. In other words, your home is stressing you out. This triggers a low-grade fight or flight response, causing a spike in cortisol, the same hormone released when a cougar is sizing you up and licking its chops. So when we're surrounded by clutter, your brain is like, this is unfinished business, which of course is a low-grade stressor for pretty much everybody. Nagging unfinished tasks is what I call them, nuts. And I did not make that up, by the way. So this really keeps our nervous system activated. It triggers a chronic cortisol release, like we talked about, which is from your adrenal glands on top of your kidneys. And over time, this affects everything from your mood to your immune system. Let's break it down from small, everyday consequences to worst case scenario. So stage 1, the small but frustrating effects. The ones that you might not even realizing are happening. So you might just be feeling scattered and forgetful. Your brain is processing too much at once. This makes it harder to focus, as we've mentioned before. Things like this will happen. You'll walk into a room and immediately forget why you were there. Was I getting my phone? Was I getting a snack? Was I paying a bill? And maybe you're like, oh, I guess I'll just stand here confused for a second. You also will misplace items every day. This happens to me. And I think a lot of us are like, oh my gosh, am I getting dementia? What's happening to me? It could be as simple as living with clutter. You might be like, where are my keys, my phone, that one pen that you swear you just had, only to find them in the weirdest places like the fridge or literally still in your hand. There was one time I was using my phone, the flashlight, to look for my phone in my hand. And I don't just lose my keys, I just put them in a new spot every single day. Future me is always so surprised by my past me's creativity. Increased irritability can show up too. So the cluttered space, it makes small annoyances feel so much bigger, like the sound of chewing. Why is it so loud? The way the cabinet door won't close properly because it is stuffed with Tupperware. The laundry pile just sitting in the corner, judging you silently. This truly, it's like, I mean, combined with perimenopause, it's just a disaster waiting to happen. Even if you aren't having perimenopause, I'm sure you can feel the pain here. Another really big one, a lot of people don't realize, is that this can cause trouble unwinding before bed. Now, your brain, it might still be processing the mess, making it harder to relax. Your sleep is so important for preventing all sorts of illnesses, chronic illnesses, things like dementia. Sleep is so important, even for weight loss. And if you're overstimulated, instead of feeling sleepy, your mind, it just starts racing through all of the things that you should be doing. You finally lie down, but suddenly you remember, I forgot to switch the laundry, or did I even respond to that email? And then you end up getting up, or you end up just like laying there stressing. That brings us to stage 2, which is when we're starting to get into the more serious effects. So when stress starts to become a daily struggle. And that starts with decision fatigue. You spend all day making micro decisions. Where should I put this? Should I keep this? What do I even do with all of this stuff? We make decisions for everything. Why should we have to constantly be making decisions for dealing with our stuff or having our stuff overwhelm us while we're making other regular decisions? Your brain is so overloaded that by the end of the day, even choosing what for dinner, it feels like you're deciding the fate of the universe. And then you start relying on the easiest options like takeout or just avoiding decisions altogether. I have a friend who will go for junk food. I have another friend who will go for not eating. Neither is a good choice. You might start to notice some procrastination and paralysis, and this is very common from what I see when I talk to people in my membership or in my comments. You want to get things in order, but you're just so drained and so overwhelmed that you just keep putting it off, and you tell yourself, I'll do it this weekend. But then by the time the weekend rolls around, you are probably so super overwhelmed and tired and stressed and overstimulated that you just rather just sort of like dive into Netflix or read or something than face the mess. Then there's relationship strain. So arguments over housework become more frequent. I know for us, our arguments would start in the kitchen. Maybe you've asked your husband to help with the dishes and he says, oh, I'll do it later. Then 4 hours pass, the sink is still full, and now you're rage washing plates, you're aggressively scrubbing like you're trying to remove all of your frustrations with the sponge. Meanwhile, your husband walks in clueless and is like, oh, why are you upset? Or worse, is this your hormones? And then you might even avoid inviting people over because you're embarrassed about the state of your home. That is not good. But now it's getting serious. Stage 3, the long-term health consequences. When clutter, it's not just a stressor, it's affecting your body. And we're gonna start with a weakened immune system. So I mentioned cortisol before. And the thing is, when we are at this later stage, our chronically elevated cortisol suppresses our immune function. It can increase your blood pressure, but also that suppressed immune function makes you more prone to colds, infections, slower healing. It can also lead to things like diabetes or even cancer. Your immune system does so much. Research shows that prolonged stress increases inflammation, contributing to headaches, digestion issues, even joint pain. All of this can even lead to like chronic autoimmune things. Have you ever noticed that you always seem to get sick after a period of stress? That's your body struggling to keep up after too much chronic overwhelm. It's just like chugging along, and then finally, you have like a moment's break and your body's like, oh, thank goodness. Well, now we're gonna get sick. There's also a serious increased risk of anxiety and depression from the constant visual chaos, and it's keeping your brain in stress mode, as we've talked about so much. But this is like, I can't say this enough, increased feelings of helplessness and emotional exhaustion. I mean, can you relate to this? Let me know. Clutter, it is linked to higher rates of depression, particularly in women. A 2010 UCLA study found that women with cluttered homes had consistently higher cortisol levels throughout the day, leading to higher stress, lower senses of well-being. And when your space feels out of control, it's easy to feel like everything else is out of control too. And for me, I have totally felt like this. Like when my house is out of control, I'm like, are my finances out of control? I'm not eating well. And maybe you're sitting down at the end of the day, ready to relax, but instead of sinking into the couch, your eyes are landing on the mess around you, the pile of laundry, the unopened Amazon boxes. Do you remember the day when we used to be like, yay, a package? Now we're like, oh no, more packages. Instead of unwinding, we're just having this low grade level of guilt creeping in, judging us. More frighteningly, higher risks of heart disease and chronic illness. As I said, that the exposure to high cortisol, that increases your blood pressure, increases your risk of heart disease and stroke. Metabolic disorders like diabetes, prolonged stress and clutter, it induces overwhelm, that it can lead to burnout, fatigue, digestion issues like IBS. Your body was designed to have some kind of survival mode, but it wasn't designed for it to be 24/7, 365. And that's exactly what chronic stress does. And if it's coming from the clutter in your house, that is just nonsense. We should not be allowing that. Let's make a change. But here's the good news, friend. Unlike some other stressors in life that are unavoidable, this one is fixable. Friend, you don't have to spend hours decluttering every day either. Just for a little bit of relief, you can start small strategic resets that can lower your stress much faster. Before we get into that, I want to say where most people go wrong, so don't make these mistakes. They try to organize before decluttering, shuffling things around instead of actually simplifying. Or they make big, unrealistic plans only to feel too overwhelmed even when they start. Maybe they aim for the Pinterest perfect space when they really just need a system that actually works for their way of life. So what's the right way? Have a look around, decide where to start. I always like to say we're going to triage, right? That's part of my mighty method. Anywhere is better than nowhere, of course, but it's great to start in an area that's really actually bugging you and just start by removing what doesn't belong, garbage, clothes, things that are in the wrong space. And then before you organize a single thing, make sure you do declutter and be ruthless. Remember, less stuff equals fewer decisions and less stress. And focus on function, not just aesthetics. Your home should make life easier and not just look tidy. We don't want just crammed closets. We don't just want crammed drawers. We want it to be easy to live in, easy to access. But even when you do declutter the right way, there's one mistake that almost everyone makes, and that's just assuming that the job is done once everything is tidy. You want that clutter gone for good, right? I get way more into that in this video here. So if you want me to take you step by step how to declutter, pop on over and watch that. I hope something great happens for you today. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tidy and mighty, and I'll see you next time. Bye.